Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a high-level game of StarCraft 2. Today in the bottom right spawning as our red Protoss player, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who can play any build order. And most of the time doesn't even prepare them. It's of course, wait, what is this? Australia. Some weird probe micro going on over there. And in the top left as our blue Terran player, playing for currently no team actually, recently leaving Team Liquid. It is Kalazur. Also a man, a myth, and a legend. Australia, I didn't know this about him, but apparently a lot of the builds that he plays are just concepts. And he'll think of concepts and very often doesn't actually have a real build order for them. He just kind of plays them at what feels right, which is kind of wild to me to think about, because he's a very high level player. There's not many players that do that. He's also one of the most free players mentally, as in he really, there's no limit to what he can open, to what he can play. He views the game a little bit different than most people. It's very hard to kind of channel that. It's difficult to figure out what you can do and what still is effective. I've mentioned this before, but at the high level, it is really difficult to improve on things that aren't standard. Because if you're playing a standard game, you're kind of building on the collective theory of your race. So imagine I am playing a 3-gate blink build order, right? And I fail with that build. I have a lot of replays that I can watch of similar scenarios that have been played out already by players better than me or players of equal skill or slightly worse. Sometimes players that are slightly worse have a good solution to a problem you're struggling with. However, if you're playing kind of new things or completely different builds, you need to figure it all out by yourself, and sometimes you don't even know if there really is an answer. You know, that is I think the hardest part, is that you're not sure if what you're playing is actually the correct thing. I mentioned this last time while we were watching some Mio Micah games as well, and it's like at what point does Mio Micah go, okay, perhaps I've reached the limit of this particular style or of this particular build order, and now it's time for me to switch out, because you already invested a lot of time in perhaps a particular style or an opener, and it feels bad to give up on it. But at some point you probably have to if you're playing non-standard things. I wouldn't know. I'm a relatively standard player, and I think most of my innovation tends to come from optimizing or finding a little bit of a twist on an already existing build. I think I'm quite good at the efficient thinking. It's like, hey, where can I cut a unit, or where can I cut a probe, or how can I get the maximum amount of stalkers at X time or at Y time? I think I'm quite good at that, but figuring out something completely new, like something that Australia's playing here, for example, this is not just uncommon, this just isn't played really. Double gate sentry opener into robotics facility, fast hallucination scout. Now, all the concepts in this build, of course, make quite a bit of sense to me, but at the same time, this also has a lot of weaknesses. So, for example, you're not going to have any what we call catch for a potential drop that is coming in. So if the opponent opens up with, I mean, Kalazur could have opened up with a starport, right? Then dealing with mines or Raven arrest can be kind of tricky, because you don't have blink and you don't have phoenixes, which means that medevacs can idle forever in dead spaces, forcing, with very little supply investment from the Terran, a big supply investment from the Protoss, having maybe 2 or 3 stalkers at each little edge, despite there only being 2 supply over here and 2 supply over here. Protoss just lost 14 to 18 supply trying to defend that. And then even if you fly in, you can often drop your mine and still run out with your medevac, forcing the probes to move away. So there's just a lot of things that are difficult with this type of opener. Curious to see how he's going to follow this up as well. Of course, he's going to have a relatively high gas count. He can afford sentries, he can afford an immortal, have pretty late gases as well here in the natural, and despite all of that, still have a bit of gas left over as well, maybe to throw down a Robo Bay, perhaps wants to go into a Twilight Council. I mean, all of these are valid options in my opinion. Kalazur for now though, just with a 2-1-1 opener, with that factory pumping out tanks. This is starting to feel a little bit like a tank all-in to me. Just, it's a tanky feeling, a tanky all-in feeling. Fast 3rd CC though, so there goes that theory out of the window. Kalazur here looking for a potential observer. I'm not sure if this is real or if this is fake. It feels fake, but the timing lines up too well for it to be a fake almost. Like, this is a lot of Marines. They're going to have stim, and with 2 tanks as well. I just don't think against this particular opener, this is very viable. Had Astraea been at the top of the ramp in time, this would have been god-awful here for Kalazur, who now might still get force-fielded. No, it's going to end up losing one or two of these Marines, sieges up them tanks. I think that's going to be the end of the push over here. Worker count is 42 to 51. Robo Bay is on the way. This is a very decent timing, by the way, for a Robotics Bay. There are some observers out as well. I really like the position that Astraea is in. I think this looks quite good. He has 2 Immortals out. Immortals pack a serious punch. Not as great against high Marine counts, but really nice once Marauders come into play. A 4th base here. 5 minutes and 40 seconds into the game. We have a 4th base. That is early. That is too early almost, one could say. Triple Rex now going down here for Kalazur. Also had a very fast third, of course. We shouldn't forget about that. Single Marine drop, or a single Medevac 8 Marine drop here being moved out. A single Marine drop would be fairly bad. So, it's a Medevac investment into dropping a single Marine. Not quite what you want. I think that's the first Colossus here popping out, right? There's none yet, yeah. There really is none. And this is just a major issue, just dealing with this type of dropping. Because you need units in position at all times. And right now, Astraea doesn't have units in position. We'll need to recall right away. 4 Adepts, 2 Sentries, and a Stalker. Should be enough to deal with it. At least push it back, but you can't catch it. A little bit of mining time is going to be lost here. So Astraea is now taking into that Twilight Council. Thermal Lance and +1. Low gas income still overall, which is interesting to say the least. His supply is quite high though. I really wonder... I don't know what to make of this build. I really don't. It's such a little wild build in my mind. What? This seems legitimately crazy. This is what? This is 9 Adepts. He's now researching Glaives. But he doesn't have it yet. He's gonna lose this base. Goes in for a counter-attack. But these Glaives... He just take this 4th base to pretend to hold it and then counter-attack with slow attack Glaives. He doesn't even have +1 yet either. So this is a god-awful fight altogether here. He lost like 3 Adepts there. Killed 6 workers. But also lost the base at home. He is getting his Glaives. He's getting his Thermal Lance. This is 5 tanks. That's a serious force here. There's 2 more Adepts do go down. I think 1 more might even fall. Yep, there we go. Adept count has been diminished by a crap ton. 2 Sentries get taken out instantly. I think Kalazur is just walking towards a straight-up win over at the 3rd base. As Thermal is about to finish up, that's going to help out. We see that pre-split of the Stalkers. We see 2 cannons in the main. This Adept Shade ends up finishing. A little bit of splash on them bad boys. Marine drop tries to go in towards the main. Doesn't get killed. Barely stays alive. Glaives now. Finishing up in about 5 seconds. Oh. Kalazur says I don't want to fight this. Instead drops a little bit further back. There's still 8 Marines in this medevac. I think he can just fight this if he's sieged up properly. And he's not fighting into a battery. I think this position is completely fine here for Kalazur. Adding in a lot of these Marauders. Oh no, you can't make this up. Yeah, this is such a wild play to go for, really. 4 Adepts getting shaded across the map. As Astraea, I think, wanted to send all of them across the map and decided against it. The last second. Double Disruptors coming out as well. That Observer will get cleaned up. 4th base once again on the way for Astraea. Now finds a tank for free. Medevac gets taken out as well. A couple of Adepts will end up dying. As there's 2 Colossus. And here come the Glaive Adepts. First person view here out of Kalazur. Spots it. And pulls the workers, or well, should pull the workers instantly. Double drop heading in towards the natural of his opponent. There's individual Adepts here, forcing some splash damage. There's no healing here, as the Medevacs have went in towards this net. Another big scan coming in. Glaive Adepts. One of them will finish up. Ooh, 2 of them will finish up. Tanks almost kill each other. As a bunch of workers will end up falling. And that's going to be a double pickup here. And a move forward with the tanks. 171 supply to 139. Here come a couple of disruptor shots. Killed 3 tanks, I think, instantly. Super battery still could be activated. No, has already been used somewhere, probably in the natural. Double drop hats back in there. Stalker's now in position to deal, well, kind of deal with this. Protein pool of the line as well. Astraea is going to hold for now and has a very powerful force. There is no serious splash anymore defensively here for Kalazur. That might be an issue. As we see, the 3 Marauders, the 1 Marine still alive, will snipe the battery, take out an Adept over here. There's no charge, so every warp-in does cost quite a bit of gas. As Disruptor's now being attacked by the tank. Tank will get taken out. Purification Nova's not quite hitting anything yet. Now start getting a couple of kills. This isn't that great of a fight though here by Astraea. Kalazur stays alive and he's up in workers. Has that fort base done already? I do believe that Kalazur is pushing his luck just a tiny tad there. Fighting outside of tank range. Like, you're gonna need the backup of your bigger brother there. Can't just go by yourself, buddy. That's it's not a good call. Would love to see a drop around right now. This seems like a terrible moment to drop, and often the moments that seem the hardest to drop are the best to drop in, because you want to pressure your opponent just a little bit. Look how little map vision Astraea actually has. Except for this observer, there really isn't that much on the sides. No pylons, no units, no spread, no nothing. 63 workers for the Protoss against 61 of the Terran. Almost gets hit there. And this is such an obvious sign that there is an observer. You immediately see Astraea move it back as well. It's like, hey, I've revealed my, you know, the ace up my sleeve. I've showed it to my opponent. Let me move it to my coat pocket right now. And we'll pretend it ain't there anymore. And Kelly's like, oh, that's fine. We'll continue playing. And yeah, he just scans here. Yeah, absolutely makes sense, of course, after those last interactions. And Astraea just realizing that ahead of time is like, hey, I showed a little bit too much there. And once again, this Purification Nova zoning tool as well moves it instantly again. This is just beautiful play. It wouldn't surprise me if Kalazur decides to scan over here now. Like, this is really nice, actually. Astraea's hyper aware of the vision of his opponent and his own vision and what people are thinking. It's a very powerful brain this guy has. As these 5 Adepts tried to shade in, but there were units in position and decides not to let it finish up. 74 workers right now for the Protoss, who's researching Storm. That is an interesting play. A very interesting play. Battery here at the fort base as well. Disruptor, Stormies. Second fort, fairly late. But then again, second eBay isn't even here yet. So I don't mind it too much. Or well, actually I do mind it. It just isn't going to be as impactful this game. So usually against Terran, you want to be a little bit better when it comes to the upgrades. You don't want to be behind. But if there's a way to get ahead, I mean, that's freaking great as well, of course. And I feel like with a slightly faster forge, maybe you could have been up an upgrade here. Like fighting 2-2 against 2-1 or something along them lines is always going to be extremely nice. We do have some Zealots now being warped in. Still a lot of gas in the bank. Double expansion here coming out of Astraea. This is kind of a Zerg move, saying, hey, I'm going to take 2 Nexi, and one of them will survive most likely. And completely right. The right side one is going to survive. This is a good drop here out of Kalazur. There's still almost no vision here on any side really for Astraea. The American is struggling against the multitasking of the Terran player here. Probes did manage to evacuate. This base trying to go up. Triple drop heading towards the main. I do believe that Astraea spotted it with like his assimilator or something. Dropping straight into a cannon as Templar is here. Good target fire out of that cannon on the medevac. You get a 3 Zealot warp in as well. 3 things happening at the same time as Kalazur with some solid multitasking at the moment. Oh. Big Storm hits a bunch of these Vikings. 1 Colossus goes down. And really, if the Colossi go down, I think Kalazur's going to be happy. This is a big EMP here. 1 Disruptor falls. That's a bigger Purification Nova, though, as I think 3 Ghosts ended up going down instantly. There's no vision here on these tanks, which makes microing Disruptors quite hard. I think Astraea is actually in a lot of trouble right now. Tanks inching forward. Colossus not capable of doing very much here. This right side army is going to get cleaned up, but there's still 8 Rex that are just pumping bio units this entire time. 5th base finally starts. I do believe that to be fairly late, as the reinforcements here are going to get caught. Kalazur not paying attention whatsoever. A very sloppy move here coming out of Kalazur as he walks in. Astraea is going to walk in and is going to take out some of these tanks. Vikings all fall as well. And although the supply is equal right now, this was an extremely good fight here for Astraea, which he really needed. He needed not just a regular cleanup, he needed a full-on cleanup over here. And he got it. He absolutely did get it. All right. You can't make this up. This is the worst scan possible. Okay, spotted it in the end. It's going to take it out anyway. The EMP is going to connect here. There's a storm in this army. A couple more Templar will end up showing up. 2 Liberators now moving forward as well. I don't think there's any ship weapon upgrades. No, there isn't. That is an issue here for Calazur, who is floating a crap ton of cash, by the way. I think second starport, fusion core, ship weapons in general, I think would just be great additions right now. Instead, he adds 2 more barracks. No fusion core quite yet. I really think that the Liberator here is being underutilized so far in this game. 5th base has finished up a while ago, isn't moving over yet. Kind of surprised by that, as now it starts flying towards the 12 o'clock base. I'm also a little bit surprised by that. 6th base on the way now for Australia. Has a massive Zealot runway out on the map. We see a 3rd robotics facility as well coming in. And what else do we have here? Well, honestly, not a whole lot. We have a bunch of Templar just spread out on the map, which is honestly kind of cute. I like it. If you hit 1 big storm, like that's... Well, you need more than 1 big storm. You're gonna need like 4 or 5 big storms. But if you get 4 or 5 big storms, that's huge. Medevac count is fairly low here, by the way. Double lips now show up at this base. Fusion core finally on the way. Still no ship weapons upgrade. I really believe this to be quite sloppy here. Coming out of Calazur. These ship weapon upgrades are so important. 1 storm did connect with this army. Another storm is going to at least zone it out. Templar, of course, very useful in these late game scenarios. Cannons and batteries by themselves are not so powerful, but you have a Templar there, all of a sudden that setup becomes much, much harder to break. And that is true in every matchup, except for PvP. As Storm in PvP is... It's not quite it, my friends. It really ain't quite it. Alright, that's all I'm gonna say about it. Another good scan here. A lot of observers going down so far. 3 observers... Actually, that's not that many. 3 observers going down this far. As we see 95 Marines, 49 Adepts. That's a very high amount of Adepts that have fallen already. I think that's going to be it with the Adept count this game, though. So Australia setting up for a bit of a flank on this army. Seems like a wild move. This is a huge army. There are no mines in this army, though. So maybe it's possible that this high Zealot count can achieve something. EMPs are blanketing the force of the Protoss player. There's not a whole lot of shields left. Purification Nova, though. Big hit there. 3-4 Ghosts, as well as a couple of them Marauders. And Calazur right now actually kind of struggling. Still doesn't have the Liberator count. Now finally starts the first ship weapon upgrades. That is fairly late. Scans and there's a 7th. I think this is looking real nice here for Australia. I'm not gonna lie. This is looking real nice here for Australia. He's transitioning or trying to transition into air weapons. It's one of these transitions you rarely see. Oh, EMP is going to connect there with the Templar. Big snipes as well coming down. Triple cannon, super battery activates, and here we go. Perhaps another fight. No, not another fight. Left side base under some heavy fire by 3 Marauders with 5 HP each. Not the healthiest of boys. Been eating McDonald's all their life and starting to show right now. Medevac is empty, you know. It's not a... Doctors can't help you no more, my dear friends. It's all ogre. Oh no. I wish I had eaten some vegetables. It's too late now, son. You can't change. We're gonna get a big push forward here. Liberators and mines flanking the... Actually zoning out the potential flank. That is a wild blink forward. Manages to snipe 1 Liberator. No, doesn't even. So manages to snipe nothing and loses 7 Stalker. That is a very bad trade. That is a very bad trade. Oh no. Calazur here actually a couple of decent trades. Gonna lose some mines. Still though. Down ever so slightly in those resources lost. 27.5k against 26k. Here comes an attack in forward. Triple purification Novas. Oh. Australia. Need to be real careful here. Doesn't really have a large force. I think the only thing that Australia can do right now is give up this base and counterattack. But he ain't doing that at all. This is... I mean, he's just not attacking. Giving up this base is really not the end of the world because he has a lot of mining going on towards the left side as well. He has that base up. Took this one fairly early. He's still going to be on 6 base against 5. Losing these probes would suck. I think Australia standing here and just kind of taking it is a mistake. I really believe there was potential for maybe an attempt at base trade, especially if you have Templar, right? Templar are just so freaking good. What the heck is this? Caduceus reactor. Oh, that's the that's the medevac energy upgrade. I don't think I'd ever seen it researched yet. So now the energy on the medevac regenerates quicker, which is actually going to be quite useful here, because he can survive with a lower medevac count in that case. That's actually quite nice, not gonna lie. Liberators moving forward here as well. Still no +2 ship weapons though, is a really rookie move. +2 ship weapons is one of these upgrades that really changes interactions in a very positive way for the Terran, as these Zealots are also getting some positive interactions here against these SCVs. Because with, a couple of bad blinks there, might as well get cleared up. If you get +2 ship weapons and you're fighting Stalkers, if you EMP the Stalker gets 1 shot, and otherwise they get 2 shots if you don't EMP them. And without it, you need 3 shots and, well, 2 shots and 3 shots respectively. So it really is much better and helps in so many freaking interactions when Stalkers are trying to kill Libs. Right now we're going to see Tempest being built. I love that. I love the Templar here on the side. This was such a natural kind of transition that we saw out of Astraea here. I really did like this. It really felt like it should have been impossible for him to get the Tempest, but he is getting there. He really is getting there. Skipping the Dark Templar and instead saying, hey, I want Storm to defend my outside bases, and then I want Tempest to deal with your Liberators, which I think might be an okay answer. Now we're going to need a Storm here. Storm here. Oh my god, 74 energy. But these Purification Novas are going to make up for a whole lot, as this Super Battery is active as well. That's going to help out quite a bit, but the Liberators, they're just a bit too strong. This base is going to get killed here. And now perhaps eco is becoming a bit of an issue for Astraea, as 6 more Zealots do run in towards the 3rd base location. Astraea decides that the left side is now his part of the map. He's had it with the right side. It's like, no more, my dear friends. Lips moving forward a bit too aggressively, in my opinion. Ghost count is non-existent, as mines are starting to show up as well. Templar with full energy gets killed before it gets to do anything. Tempest moving back and forth. They will try to fight against them Lips, and so far doing an okay job. Splits are fine, not great though. Scalazur perhaps will still get cleaned up. He has a lot of supply, but it ain't here. Look at this! Just has freaking 40 supply chilling at home, while he's practically all-inning with his main force right now. That was not great here, Calazur. Does take out a couple of them probies. Will end up losing almost all of his air units. Those air units are very important, and they're all extremely gas heavy. You can't afford to lose these types of boys right now. You just can't. Vikings on the way. More Lips coming out, but the medevac count is pathetic. A single stim here is going to wipe out a lot of health on this Bioforce, and that means that Storms could actually be quite effective here. Usually once Ghosts are out, that's not going to be the case. Calazur for now, no Ghost in his army. Purification Nova moving in forward. I love the way that Calazur is playing here. He says, hey, I'm going to perhaps lose a couple of air units, but you're going to lose a base. And I don't think you can afford that right now, buddy. And I'm actually with Calazur here. He does micro a little bit sloppily. He gets eaten by a Purification Nova. His Nexus will end up falling as well, as now these Lips under some heavy fire. And there's just not enough ground force here for Astraea. This army, though, getting softened up as a Storm comes in. There's one more Storm in the far back. Not having Ghost here is really hurting Calazur, who is going to disengage and wants to take out this left side base. I can only imagine. Probably needs to stim one more time, but that could actually be kind of scary. He really needs more medevacs. Like, sure, the Caduceus reactor is real nice and powerful, but if you want to heal up this army, you're going to need more than a single medevac. He has 101 army supply, 1 medevac. That is really not okay. These Tempests are doing such a good job, by the way, just dealing damage consistently. Calazur, meanwhile, is expanding towards the right side. I see some crap flying over, as he's gonna set up a base here on the far left. 4 more Vikings on the way. It feels like Calazur is so focused on dealing with those Tempests that he's kind of forgetting that he's outmining his opponent significantly right now, and all he really needs to do is stay alive. These mines, oh my god. Dealing so much damage against the Tempest is freaking huge. I really think that getting a couple of medevacs, just sitting back for a sec, maybe getting like a double drop here on the right side, just to make sure that you can cancel this base. You don't want big fights right now. You don't want big engagements. You want to wait. You want to buy a little bit of time at least. Probes going down. Astraea's army is honestly hot garbage here. I mean, freaking Zealot. Still not a single Ghost in this comp, though, for Calazur, which is definitely a major blunder. 8-9 workers going down. I have no clue where. I'm sorry I missed. It must have been these guys. Pylon's gonna get taken out. There's a double expand right now happening for Kalazur. Lacking the gas still. Takes out the Prism with a 4 Viking squad. Nice moves. Says, hey, no zealots in my main base. No zealots today. Your Prism's gone away. La 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 la. Mine here is gonna get taken out as... yeah, I feel like slowly but surely Kalazur is crawling to a victory. Still only at a single medevac though. Which could be considered an issue. Does start adding a couple of ghosts. Tempest count is growing. And Tempest Templar Disruptor is actually a very scary composition that we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't laugh at. You really shouldn't, especially if there's still so many Marines out on the map. 38 supply in Marines. Now that's cool and all, but a single storm could seriously soften them up. And of course, a single stim could also seriously soften them up. Like that is over 50 bio units with just a single medevac. I think an Oracle here is absolutely vital to just get the kind of the lock onto those Vikings so you can shoot at them from a distance. Templar being fairly effective here. That's a big Purification Nova to start things off with. 1400 minerals income against 2800 in favor of our Terran player. Big EMPs connecting as well. So here come the Vikings moving in forward. This Observer could perhaps help out at least a little bit, as these shots are actually dealing a lot of damage. Coast now being taken out as well, as the Viking count is dropping quicker than the Tempest count, it feels like. I really still, but I don't quite understand why Kalazur is so keen on just standing here. The thing against Tempest is that you can't out-siege them, right? You need to move quickly against them. You can't just sit there at a distance and go absolutely wild. You need to... Oh, this looks bad. Also attack into the super battery, which feels like a mistake. Finally, we're getting some more medevacs as well in this comp, and Kalazur gives up this left side. I really think he should consider giving this up for a bit of a longer period. Tempest Scout continues to grow here as well. So there's still 3 Templar around. One of them has at least 200 energy. Well, has 200 energy. This bad boy has none. Here we go. Zoning Storm. This is actually really freaking scary right now for Kalazur. I don't quite understand how this is happening. I mean, he's outmining his opponent in such a large way. But he's just not winning trades. He just isn't. The Tempest count is at 10 currently. But this also makes the right side really vulnerable to any type of attack. Like a double drop would be so hard to deal with. All of these units, you can't split them off. The only time that Australia is good in a fight is in a direct engagement that lasts for very long. And right now, Kalazur has been giving him this engagement for the past 3 minutes or so. More Tempest now moving in forward. Good control as well, of course. With that better acceleration, the Tempest is much, much easier to control. I still believe a single Oracle could change the world over here. But the Tempest count is currently higher than the Viking count. And honestly, without the ability to truly run into this army, I don't quite see what Kalazur's plan is here on the left side. This base isn't that important. He has the right side base. He needs all the gas mining, that's true. And he's getting that right now. But this left side is completely irrelevant for him, or should be completely irrelevant. He could just try base trade. This is the wrong angle to take in my mind, as the Tempest continue shooting. Less and less Vikings here on the map. 6 against 9 Tempest. And the Colossus are having a blast as well. Like, well, we're not being attacked by Vikings right now. Storm comes in clutch as well, stopping this attack. Another Stim is going to kill a lot of these bio units, as Australia says, hey, now it's my time to shine. He's moving in and actually might be capable here of getting a bit of a W. At least taking out 1 or 2 bases. No, says Australia. He says, hey, I think now is my one chance. I was on low mining this entire game. You're still out mining me. I'm not going to kill your bases. I'm going straight for your production. That's exactly what he's doing here. He's going to try and just... He's going to stand at the ramp here and shoot with these Tempests. Because there's nothing that can deal with the Tempest. And that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Viking being taken out. Up, up, up. Here comes a Colossus from a distance. Going to start swiping these Marines as well. This is some phenomenal gameplay here coming out of Australia. It really is. I love the way that he transitioned here in this game as well. Just going into those Stormers rather than DTs, which often these days really don't deal a whole lot of damage anymore. He says, no, I want Storm. I want these outside bases secured. And then I want to transition into Tempest. And it felt like he lost a lot of time while transitioning into Tempest. But right now, I'm just not seeing a way for Kalazur to fight this army, because there's too much splash that he can't just run into it, but he needs to, because otherwise the Tempest will win over time. Here come the Templar. Good storm, and it's some big storms as well right here, right now. as Tempest continue rallying across the map. 156 applied to 131, 110 armies applied to 56, and that's the real issue. Purification Nova takes out all of these ghosts as Kalazur gets blinked upon and gets destroyed here in an insane manner, honestly. Despite being up freaking 4 or 5 bases there in the end, having the entire right side, mining this bad boy as well, just staying too long over here in the middle and not realizing that was a very long losing fight that he kind of engaged in. That took like 5 or 6 minutes, and eventually Kalazur just bled out. Didn't have the Viking count anymore to stop it, and yeah, then life sucks. I think just too slow with those important units, those Vikings, those Ghosts, those Medevacts, just a little bit too low in the count. Struggling with the gas income as well this entire time, and yeah, pays the price here. Sick little game though, real nice to see out of Australia. Cool opener. Not the biggest fan of the follow-up, but I loved how he went into that mid-game, into those transitions. A very just mineral-heavy mid-game into those techie units in the late game. Cool to see, and cool to see it work out as well. And that, my dear friends, is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.